In the revenge thriller drama The Glory, a young woman sets off on a long-term plan to get revenge on bullies who tormented her during their high school years. In this video, we'll look at how the series creates compelling characters and discuss one of the bullies named Jeon Jae-joon. Per usual, there will be spoilers for the story of The Glory, so I recommend checking out the series before proceeding further. We're looking at the first 8 episodes of how Jejun is portrayed as a character in this video. Jejun is the lead male bully among the group of friends who tormented Dong-un. As an adult, we see that Jejun continues to lead a wealthy, glamorous life, running an elite country club for the upper class. We also discover that he's colorblind, which becomes a key story point in establishing that he's the true biological father of Yeonjin's daughter, Ye-sol. While Dong-un's plans for revenge primarily target her nemesis Yeonjin, Jejun is inevitably drawn into these complications. As a character, Jejun appears to be the man who has everything, but who is inherently unhappy deep down inside. Even with all of his wealth and power, there are still things out of his reach. So the series portrays Jejun as a complicated man who can be polished on the outside, but who can then turn on a dime and become physically and emotionally violent. He asserts his status by ordering Myung-oh around and humiliating him along with Haejong. Jejun has a vicious, brutal nature underneath his charming smile, and he can be menacing even toward the protagonist, Dong-un, who usually seems to be in control of most situations when she's enacting her plans for revenge. If we look at his series objective, we can ask, what is his core need? What is the thing that drives Jejun into action and motivates his choices? I think Jejun needs to feel validated by what he can't have, but this will never be enough. Because of his wealth and power, he's a man who acts as if he is above the law. Envy overwhelms how he sees others and the world around him. In some ways, there is a narcissistic boredom at the core of Jejun's character. He's bored with all the wealthy trappings of his glamorous life, so he needs to have what he doesn't already possess in order to assert his value and position in the world. When it comes to action verbs for the acting approach for Jejun, I thought of to intimidate, to slight, dress down, crush, and to humiliate. For example, we see that Jejun and Yeonjin have an adulterous affair, even while she's married to her CEO husband Do-young. But so far in the story, Yeonjin won't leave her husband for Jejun. We see in a wedding day flashback that Jejun was sitting among the guests, enviously watching Yeonjin and her husband. Jejun keeps his jealousy somewhat beneath the surface, but it's still visible upon a closer look. We can also look at what is Jejun's core fear. In other words, what is he most afraid of losing? I think he's most afraid of losing anything that he deems his possession. So when Jejun discovers that he is the biological father of Yeonjin's daughter, Ye-sol, he becomes obsessed with establishing a connection with her and making up for lost time. Later on, he angrily confronts Yeonjin for denying him his right as a father to raise his own biological daughter. This obsession with Yeonjin's daughter also brings out Jejun's envy and competitiveness to Yeonjin's husband, Do-young. Jejun sees the CEO as a rival and tries to provoke him, showcasing an arrogant attitude by appearing at a school event for fathers at Ye-sol's school. Jejun tempts confrontation and anger by sinisterly mocking Do-young, throwing verbal jabs here and there about who Ye-sol's real father truly is, while maintaining an outward cool. The contrast between Jejun's polished exterior and his crude nature might lead to a quick characterization of him as a bad boy stereotype. But I think the series doesn't settle for a shallow portrayal of his character. He is more nuanced. Jejun's vulnerabilities make him more interesting to watch. For example, we learn that he is colorblind and that he has a deep insecurity about this condition. Whenever Jejun feels slighted or feels less than, due to a comment about his colorblindness, he can quickly turn violent, hiding his insecurity behind brutality. As a teenager, he physically beats another classmate at school when the topic of his colorblindness comes up. As an adult, he threatens a young woman who accompanies him for an evening date when she makes an innocent comment about if he can see her red hair. It's possible that Jejun sees his colorblindness as a weakness, and that he has to not draw attention to it as it threatens his sense of status and power. In his scenes, Jejun appears to be the character who's like a ticking time bomb. He could go off and explode at any moment, so there's an air of danger and menace around him. This is why showcasing his vulnerabilities brings nuance to his character. Another important area for this vulnerability is how he treats his biological daughter, Ye-sol, once he discovers he's her father. Jejun comes off as protective toward her, wanting to provide for her and make sure she has everything that she needs. His interactions with Ye-sol show a completely different side to him, and it also motivates him to confront Yeonjin and Do-young in separate scenes. Once Jejun discovers his genetic connection to Ye-sol, he is driven to find a way to take her back as his own daughter, which includes proposing a plan to Yeonjin for her to divorce her husband. So for the first 8 episodes of The Glory, Jejun is given his own subplot as he discovers his true connection to Yeonjin's daughter and then tries to figure out how to bring her into his life. He's a cruel man driven by his insecurities, who at this time doesn't appear to seek any redemption. Like Yeonjin, he is a strong antagonist for Dong-un, and it will be interesting to see where he lands at the end of the series.